The Radical Power of Softness, Redefining Strength in a Hard World. Have you ever noticed how we glorify exhaustion? We wear our burnout like a badge of honor. I'm so busy, we say with a strange mix of complaint and pride, as if running ourselves into the ground somehow proves our worth, as if our value is measured by how close we are to collapse. I recently had the extraordinary privilege of interviewing Alexesis Singleton Roberts, a visionary who has fundamentally transformed how we think about strength, particularly for Black women professionals. Her insights didn't just challenge me, they shattered everything I thought I knew about power, resilience, and what it truly means to thrive in a world that often demands we sacrifice ourselves on the altar of productivity. Alexis isn't just a thought leader, she's a liberation architect, rebuilding the very foundation of how we understand success and well being. Her work has created ripples of transformation across industries, giving thousands permission to redefine power on their own terms. What struck me most about my conversation with Alexis was her revolutionary perspective that our greatest power might not come from pushing harder, but from embracing softness. That vulnerability, far from being weakness, might actually be the most radical act of strength available to us. This isn't just feel good philosophy, this is survival. Think about it. We're living in a culture that celebrates the grind until you can't stand up straight. A world that tells us, especially Black women, that our value is measured by how much we can endure without breaking, how many plates we can spin, how little sleep we can function on, how seamlessly we can smile through pain. And we've bought into it, haven't we? We've internalized this toxic narrative that says rest is lazy, that asking for help is failure, that vulnerability is weakness, that saying no is selfish, that our worth is tied to our output. But what if everything we've been taught about strength is wrong? What if true power lies not in how much we can bear alone, but in our courage to say, this is too heavy. I need to put it down for a while. What if the most revolutionary act isn't pushing through pain, but honoring it? Marination Tolos discovered this truth the hard way. As a high achieving Black professional, she had mastered the art of performative resilience, appearing unshakable while crumbling inside. The generational pressure to embody Black excellence through relentless endurance had led her, like so many others, straight to burnout and serious health complications. But her breaking point became her breakthrough. One morning, after another night of 4 hours of sleep, heart racing with anxiety, Marinatia found herself unable to get out of bed. Not because she was tired, though she was exhausted beyond measure, but because her body had simply decided enough. That moment of forced stillness became her awakening. Marination began questioning why strength for Black professionals had to mean sacrificing well being, why excellence had to come at the cost of humanity, why resilience had to look like endurance rather than renewal. And in that questioning, she found her purpose, creating safe spaces where Black professionals could prioritize rest, mental health, and boundary setting without shame. Places where they could take off the armor just for a while and remember what it feels like to breathe. The impact was profound. Thousands found new ways to succeed without sacrificing their well being or identity. By championing authenticity over performative resilience, Marinatia helped transform workplace cultures, normalizing softness as power for Black professionals. One participant in her program shared, for the first time in my career, I feel like I can be both successful and human. I don't have to choose. This isn't just about feeling better, this is about survival. This is about liberation because here's what Alexis helped me understand. The myth of the strong Black woman wasn't created to empower us, it was designed to extract maximum labor with minimum complaint. It's a narrative that has kept many of us running on empty, thinking that's just what we're supposed to do. But strength isn't about how much you can take before you break. Real strength is knowing when to rest, when to ask for help, when to say no, when to let yourself feel, when to put yourself first. Real strength is softness. I know what some of you are thinking. That sounds nice, but in the real world, I can't just decide to be soft. I have responsibilities, people dependent on me, bills to pay, a career to build, a legacy to create. I hear you. And so did Landis Harwell, whose story exemplifies this struggle perfectly. Landis was the epitome of hustle culture, a high achieving Black woman professional who wore exhaustion like a designer accessory. Her calendar was packed, her email inbox overflowing, her phone constantly buzzing with notifications. Success by conventional standards, but fulfillment, peace, joy, those remained elusive until her body forced a reckoning. It wasn't dramatic. No collapse in a boardroom, no hospitalization, just a quiet moment in her kitchen when she realized she couldn't remember the last time she truly enjoyed anything. Food had no taste. Conversations felt like performances. Achievements brought no satisfaction. She was moving through life like a ghost in her own story. After a personal health crisis brought on by chronic stress, Landis had to confront an uncomfortable truth. The success she was killing herself to achieve wasn't even the success she wanted. She was climbing a ladder, leaning against the wrong wall. This revelation led her to pioneer what she calls the revolution of rest, a movement advocating intentional rest and authentic living within business environments. Instead of constant hustle, she promoted self definition beyond productivity, encouraging small steps toward joy and financial freedom. Landis started with herself. She blocked off Fridays for strategic rest, protecting that time as fiercely as any client meeting. She began saying no to opportunities that didn't align with her values, even when they promised prestige or profit. She created morning rituals that centered her well being before opening her laptop. Small shifts, radical results. The outcome? Communities shifted away from grind culture. Individuals experienced improved mental health and greater fulfillment. Her approach liberated many from toxic success narratives rooted in overwork. But here's what's truly remarkable. As these professionals embraced rest, as they set boundaries and prioritized well being, their work didn't suffer. In many cases, it improved. They became more creative, more focused, more effective. Because, contrary to what hustle culture preaches, rest isn't the opposite of productivity, it's the foundation of it. Now, I know what you're thinking. That's great for them, but what about me? I'm in a season where nothing seems to be working. I'm stuck, stalled, invisible. The grind isn't working, but neither is rest. I'm just waiting. Those hidden seasons, the periods where progress isn't visible, where you feel forgotten or left behind, they're not wasted time. They're preparation. Tyra and Bria from the Affirmations for Black Girls podcast explored this beautifully. Their episode on trusting hidden seasons resonated deeply with listeners navigating setbacks or transitions, career pauses, personal losses, periods of uncertainty. Their message was simple but profound. Hidden seasons aren't punishment, they're protection, they're preparation. They're the soil where your next chapter is taking root, even when you can't see the growth yet. One listener shared how, after losing a job she thought defined her, she fell into a depression that lasted months. During that time, she felt worthless, forgotten, left behind while peers advanced in their careers. But in that fallow period, she rediscovered parts of herself she'd neglected. She healed old wounds. She reconnected with her faith. She remembered who she was, she beyond her title. And when she eventually returned to work, it wasn't as the same person. She was stronger, clearer, more aligned with her purpose. That hidden season wasn't wasted, it was essential. This is what faith through adversity looks like: not denying the pain, but trusting it has purpose, not ignoring the struggle, but believing it's temporary, not pretending everything is fine, but knowing that even when it's not, you will be. And here's where we find the third pillar of wisdom from my conversation with Alexesis: trust the process and celebrate small wins. In a culture obsessed with overnight success stories and dramatic transformations, we've lost the art of recognizing incremental progress. We dismiss small victories as insignificant. We overlook gradual growth because it doesn't make for a compelling Instagram post. But real, sustainable change rarely happens in dramatic leaps. It happens in tiny steps, consistent choices, small acts of courage repeated day after day. Did you choose rest instead of pushing through exhaustion today? That's a win. Did you speak up in a meeting when you'd usually stay silent? That's a win. Did you set a boundary that made you uncomfortable but honored your needs? That's a win. These moments matter. They're the building blocks of transformation. They're evidence that you're growing, healing, becoming. And when you're in a season where even small wins feel elusive, when faith feels like a fragile thing barely keeping you afloat, that's when community becomes essential. This is perhaps the most powerful insight from my conversation with Alexesis. We were never meant to do this alone. The myth of individual resilience has isolated us, convinced us that asking for help is weakness. But humans are communal creatures. We need each other. We heal in connection. We thrive in community. So I challenge you today: reject the glorification of exhaustion, embrace the radical power of softness, redefine strength on your own terms, start small. This week, choose one area where you've been hardest on yourself and pause there. Instead of pushing harder, practice radical self compassion. Rest without guilt. Seek support from your community. Write down one promise you're keeping faith in right now and revisit it whenever doubt creeps in. Because the revolution we need won't be won through gritted teeth and depleted bodies, it will be claimed through fierce self advocacy, through boundaries that honor our humanity, through communities that hold us when we cannot hold ourselves. The world doesn't need more exhausted warriors wearing armor too heavy to bear. It needs whole humans connected to their power and their vulnerability in equal measure. It needs you, not just surviving, but thriving, not just enduring, but flourishing. As Alexis Singleton Roberts has shown us, your softness isn't weakness, it's your most revolutionary asset. In a world designed to harden you, choosing softness isn't surrender, it's resistance, it's rebellion, it's reclamation of your full humanity. So stand tall in your vulnerability, rest without apology, trust the process, especially when the path forward isn't clear. And remember, you don't have to earn your worth through suffering. You are already enough, not because of what you do, but because of who you are. The revolution begins with you, right here, right now, in this moment of choosing yourself. Will you join us?